So, Nick, thanks for sending out this information. We have a fairly light agenda, it looks like. We have meeting minutes from the 6th. We should do those first. Does everybody have the meeting minutes from the 6th to review? Just take a minute to do that. Everybody have a chance to go over the minutes? Any edits that were found to be needed? Anybody?
Just down the bottom, page 1, should be Roger made.
Right. You know, I'm thinking that somehow
We're
that
gonna finish it.
there's something about that sentence.
Roger make a motion about it.
Yeah. So I think he made a motion to.
He did. I think he got cut off when I was.
And who seconded it too?
Yeah.
Very top two, first line, was called the order, not will be.
Yeah. So we need to be able to finish that sentence in that, at the bottom,
Yeah.
Roger. And do you have that at your disposal to verify what?
I can probably go look at my computer, see if it was deleted maybe. So if you want to give me a sec or I don't know, I don't remember what it was off the top of my head. I'll have to go look at my notes.
Okay.
Might actually be right here actually.
So while you're looking for that, I have a question for the board. In the same place on number 2, the Doug Frame, it says Doug Frame came to the board November 15th to have a deck added to a structure, but he was denied. Did we actually deny it, or did we talk to him about the trouble that the current application
I
was
think he took it off.
Yeah.
Right.
You
So-
will.
Voluntarily.
So we didn't have or did we have a decision to deny the application?
No, we approved the application, but he, I think, as what I remember, he's crossed out or took off the deck.
I think the way it went down was, you can get one, but you know we're gonna have to deny you on the other one, or you could pull it.
Yeah. And he went back
And he
to
pulled
talk to the owners.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so I'm only talking about this just so we can be clear on what happened on the 15th of November, so that when we decided on the 6th of
Yeah,
December.
no, but we did approve
Yeah.
the partial application,
The deck underneath, to close it off.
right, but
Then there's
not,
the one on the
but-
side that they wanted to add to, which went closer to the water.
so
We approved the application after he amended it to strike
Right.
the part toward the water.
Okay, George?
I was just gonna say that, so it isn't that we denied the application, because we didn't deny the entire application. As somebody said, or maybe you said that, you know, I think he amended the application right then and there when we said we could not approve that deck on the front.
I think so,
Right.
so I think, I'm not trying to be picky on the words necessarily, Nick.
Right.
I just wanna make sure that we're clear, so
Yep.
that should someone review it, you know,
Mhm.
I didn't want it to be confusing.
No, that's completely understandable.
So, am I making a mountain out of a molehill where I see the word denied?
It's just a question of whether we need to rehash that history here or not.
Right.
It certainly puts it in better context, but
was told that we could not approve the deck, so we amended the application.
yeah, that would do it.
That,
And then we approved it and discussed that the deck could go on the side of the building as long as it wasn't any closer to the water. He came back with that application or something of the sort.
it sounds very reasonable to me, Craig, you know. So, is it okay to use?
Yeah, so
use the
basically go more in
language?
depth into what transpired there.
Yeah, thank you.
And on that, how it ended on a cliff there, it's, Roger made a motion to approve the app and it was seconded by Rich.
Okay, and then,
And then approved unanimously.
sweet, thank you. Anything else on page?
I have a question or whatever, comment on item number 1. It says in the second sentence, the board asked Adam to cross out addition on original sketch so that it would look like he was adding an addition. So is that so that it wouldn't look like he was adding an addition?
Yeah,
Because
Yeah.
he used the same drawing that he used the first time.
Yep.
Without fixing it. So we
What I was gonna suggest for that sentence was some modification of the language, because really all we asked him to do was to clarify the application.
right.
And so I was gonna suggest the board asked Adam to insert there, clarify the application and cross out addition and put that in quotes on the original sketch. And delete the rest of that sentence and add the words that was not part of the application. So that it would read, the board asked Adam to clarify the application and cross out addition on the original sketch that was not part of the application.
I like that.
Yep.
Okay, Nick is nodding, so I think he got it.
Yes,
You got it?
I got that one, yeah.
Perfect. Thanks. Anything else on page 1? So page 2, under old business, anything? I have one question. In that paragraph, halfway through, it says the planning board also wanted to know if the town owns the data. I thought we got an answer to that question.
Right. Yeah, I thought that we should add another sentence that he indicated that the town did own the data.
Exactly.
I thought that was clear.
Yeah, that was clear, because that was a fundamental question.
Now, was that the meeting that did Dennis say at that meeting that we own the data, or was it in his memo that he sent after he met with Gary?
No, Peter asked that question.
And he responded when he was here at that meeting.
Yeah.
which was good. I felt it was good. Because I think it was assuring or reassuring. So, okay. So that was what I had so far. Anybody else for comments or suggested edits or anything to help clarify? No?
I do. Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Start off with the minuscule stuff. 5th line down, middle of the page, 2. It's just 1 O.
We can hold them to TO
Yeah.
rather than TO.
So on the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7th line, line above that actually, that starts with Dennis told the board that they have budgeted $2,500 for mapping changes that Rich outlined. I think, to be clear, I think we should say additional mapping changes because we're talking about the changes yet to come.
Yeah.
And then the next sentence, George asked where they got the number from. I guess I would, for clarity, I would suggest getting rid of that number and adding the $2,500 budget figure in its place, so that it would read, George asked where they got the $2,500 budget figure from.
Yeah. Okay. Very good.
One more thing, further down where the 3rd full line ends, Dennis said 1 through 6 excluding 4. Should we say what he's talking about?
Oh, like actually reference those things?
What 1 through 6 excluding 4 is?
Excluding 4 of Rich's list, how's that?
Yeah.
But something I think should be in there to describe.
That's a good point. Otherwise, if you just read that, you wouldn't know
Right.
that there is a list. So, of Rich's list, perhaps, to be added.
Richard's list of what we asked Sewell for.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Nick's got that. I got another suggested change.
Yep, go ahead.
What's that? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th line down that starts with the estimate that Sewell provided. That next sentence, the board did say they, and I would add the word still, need to, rather than figure, I would substitute the word decide what wetlands needed to, rather than changed, needed to be, and I would substitute rezoned for changed. Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about taking 2 out of resource protection and
What was the last part of that?
delete the word changed and replace it with rezoned.
You want to use the word zone?
Shoreland zoning.
That's the one zoning thing we have, really. So I think we can afford to in this case, but otherwise, no.
And then the other suggested change I had was in the next line down, which starts with board said it had to go to the voters because the map is, rather than reference for, I would delete that and substitute part of, so that it reads the board said it had to go to the voters because the map is part of the ordinance. Is that okay, Nick?
Excellent. else from anybody
Not in that paragraph.
in the last paragraph?
Yep.
Okay.
So under the new septic standards, number 2 there, second line down, starting with an email blast and notify, oh, I'm sorry, not there. Second to last sentence, rather than hearing, I would substitute, I would delete hearing and put in informational meeting.
Yeah.
So that's what we're really talking about.
Right. Because hearing has a whole other meaning. Anything else? Okay, so we've had some edits, suggested edits. If there's nothing else, I would entertain a motion.
Motion to accept the minutes of December 6th as edited.
I'll second.
Any more discussion? All those in favor? Yes. Thank you, Nick. Really appreciate that. Next item for us is to go over the draft email that George put together. Thank you, George, for spending the time to do this.
Yeah, no problem.
So, everybody have a copy of this? I've gone over this once, but make sure we have a chance to do it right now, if you don't mind.
Gary, you have a copy of this, haven't you? Yeah, okay. Seeing how I use your name.
Yeah. The only thing, is that the right phone number?
No, it's the one. It's what I got off the website.
Is it? 2442? 2742 now?
No, that's our fax line.
Yeah, that's fax.
That's fax. Oh, maybe I got that.
That's 2258.
That's what it says now.
Leave it there.
No wonder why they get that funny buzzing noise.
So you leave it there, you won't worry about getting any calls.
I don't know how many times I've done that.
Well, I think this email is a very effective way of conveying important information to the realtors. We're pointing them to the right page, right? We reference the fact that there's some state guidelines. We express our need for this to happen for the town and where it applies in the shoreline zone. I'm not sure what else we would need to do to this particular email in order to send it out, other than if we do edit it, to then agree and then send it.
I just have a question. We, in our ordinance, we said it was the purchasers' responsibility to do this, not the sellers.
Right. I actually have one wording change that I think is I kind of goobered up here. In the second paragraph, third line from the bottom of that paragraph, it reads to be provided to the landowner and is also to accompany. I would insert after accompany the word future shoreline zoning, and eliminate future and that next at the beginning of that next line down. I mean, this obviously would need to, and we're kind of almost a little ahead of ourselves in the sense that, you know, the next agenda item needs to be resolved first before we can do anything with this in terms of sending it out. But
Yeah, because this is referencing something that's not totally in effect yet.
right,
But the intent would be that if this worked.
yeah, at least this would be then ready to
Right,
go.
and ready.
So
So we could,
where would you get the list? Association of Realtors?
oh, for the realtors in town,
Well,
I think you sent me a list of.
Yeah, I sent Nick a list of email addresses for the realtors in Belgrade and others that I was familiar with. I don't remember exactly how many I had on the list, maybe 8, 9
Yeah.
real estate firms, plus the main association of realtors, and there was a Kennebec County Association of Realtors, actually, or Board of Realtors, I think that's what they call
I
themselves.
think it is the board.
Yeah. But
And if we think
that's not to say, you know, I may have missed, for example, realtors that are doing business in North Belgrade, for example, that I don't see their signs driving around.
Yeah.
So I don't know if some others have suggestions.
Well, if we, Nick and I will work on that. If we, we see anything that is missing,
Okay,
we'll add it.
great.
But we can't mail it out yet.
Right. So from a you know, content perspective, you know, we have adjusted the phone number, so we're not calling the fax.
Yeah.
You know, it would be good. And moving the word future.
We welcome your call, but
So we moved the word future from one spot to another. Were there any other edits for this particular thing?
I had a comment that's probably not worth doing. I just, it's kind of like minuscule wordsmithing, I guess, but the last paragraph, not the thank you, but the one before that, talks about the ordinances available on town website. The inspection requirement can be found on page 42. I think people probably figure out page 42 of the ordinance, but I was thinking if we added of that ordinance, makes it very clear, page 42 references.
The shoreline ordinance.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's pretty clear otherwise, but anyway.
that wouldn't hurt.
No, great, thank you, that'd be good. All right, so with a couple of edits, those 3, how does the board feel about this email draft?
It's fine, works good,
Content.
and we ought to send it out.
All right, great.
On an email blast.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'd wait until we had it posted on the web. You know, we got
Yeah.
DEP approval and it's posted on the website.
Yeah, I think we ought to rewrite it with the changes, those were,
Yeah.
which we'll have time to do.
So you can save this and then want to revisit it later after
Yeah.
we know things have happened with what we're doing with the ordinance, that it's approved. We get stuff posted to the website. We can then include the URL, which obviously we didn't say this, but we have to include that in this, right? Where it says not yet posted on the website. But, so we'll hang on to this. Is that okay? Would you want to approve it as a board first, to say this would be the thing we'd like to use?
We might as well, the rest of it.
Yeah, then we would just, execute what we want. So I would entertain a motion regarding this draft email.
I've got a question for you.
Sure.
This is gonna be sent out to the realtors?
Yes, the audience is the realtors that have been identified in this area.
in those two associations.
So what happens if it's like private sale type deal, how could you get to them?
Falls through the cracks.
In terms of notification.
In terms of notification.
Um,
Or it could, unless people knew about it
right,
somehow, but
So the only way they find out is if somebody else tells them, or if they come to the ordinance and read up.
Well, you know what? I'll put something in the newsletter.
thank you, Gary, that would be
That
good.
gets mailed to everybody.
Either that
oh, that's a
or
good idea.
I got an idea. Is it, I'm not trying to be flippant here, but is there a way to put that sort of information in a brief on the sign?
Sure.
Like a reminder,
Oh, on the electronic sign?
yeah, just
Well,
an idea.
how about when they come in just to transfer the title? If there's a red flag that comes out, was a septic system inspected?
Yeah, they don't come in to transfer the title, we get a copy from the registry
Yeah.
of deeds.
I think Gary's suggestion is probably the best way to reach the most people.
Yeah,
And that goes to taxpayers, not just year-round voters.
Does it?
I think we gotta make enough of it to get it out to everybody, yeah.
Sorry.
this is a real, I think Gary's idea
Yep.
is probably the single most effective
Fly a
way.
plane overhead with a banner if you can, but.
Yeah,
And the other catch is if they ever come in to get a permit, it
Yeah.
lasts 3 years.
right. Okay, so do we have a motion to accept this as amended yet, or? We had started to talk about it.
I'll make a motion to accept this draft to the realtors as amended.
Thank you.
Second.
Any more discussion? No. Thank you again, George, really appreciate that. All those in favor? Perfect. Next, we probably all saw that there were a couple of comments that came back from the DEP. I guess from my perspective, when I read, gone through this and then seen what, I think it was Colin had written these things, that they don't seem to be very substantive, right? I mean, it's, remove something to be in alignment with the, timber harvesting, blah, blah, blah. So if we go through this and we, do these edits as related to the remarks, I'm of the opinion that we would not have to re-present this to the voters, right? Does anybody have a different?
If we changed it,
Yeah.
if we changed it, we'd have to take it to the voters, I think. If they condition it, it's automatically approved. That's, I mean, that condition is to be enforced. But if we failed to put a date there, although I think we may not have gone to the voters with a date, but the last meeting we had, we put a date in there. And somehow it just never made it, I guess, to the final version or whatever. But the last meeting we had, that was one of the issues we talked about, is we needed a date there.
Yeah, exactly.
But we can't just throw the date in unless, or put it this way, if the date was already there and we had decided earlier, I think we can keep that date. But if it never made it to the official document that the people were voting on, I don't think we can just plug it in. Nor can we eliminate that forest management activity stuff later on. We can't do that. The DEP can condition it and we have to administer it.
What's that mean though, Rich? Does that mean that, if it's not in the ordinance in black and white, we'll forget about it, or at least I will.
I will.
So, what's that mean in terms of
It means we
what
need
the
to
ordinance
attach,
actually says?
it means we have to attach with that condition to every ordinance that is given out to somebody.
So it'd be clearer if we, I think we should, as a matter of process, I think we should go through this and see if we have any changes that didn't already go to the voters when they approved it. Because I agree with you, I think this date was in the draft that went to the voters.
Yeah, we definitely.
And I think at least one of the other issues that Colin brings up was in the draft that went to the voters. And might have somehow in the accepting of deletions and
Right.
accepting of changes is when that
I haven't got a
occurred.
chance to look back, but I'm pretty sure there was a date there.
Yeah,
And Colin said there was only 2 conditional changes. All the other ones, he said, if the board wants to delete them, you can just delete them. At least that was my understanding that he said.
I think the 2 changes are the date or whatever that Cohen had a problem with. And we left in timber management,
Forest management.
forest roads or management roads or something that apparently for conservation to fully accept and doing all timber harvesting,
They want to do it all.
they want everything out, not just timber harvesting, but the management stuff too.
okay, yeah, because when we did that, it seemed to me that was still in chapter 1000, but maybe I'm recalling incorrectly.
It was.
Land management roads, that is.
Oh.
Well, I thought it probably was too, and I would have taken it out.
Right,
Uh,
right.
But I guess I figured forest management was different than, it is definitely different in terms of the definition. There's forest management and there's timber harvesting. And we struck out the timber harvesting stuff and thinking that forest management was another subject. Apparently forest management and timber harvesting are all in one lump.
I see. I see.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can we go through these one at a time? Because,
So if you want to start at the beginning with the date?
yeah, I'm having a hard time defining it in the draft that went to the voters, but I could have sworn that when I looked earlier that I found it in the draft that went to the voters.
I do not have the copy that went to the voters.
I can tell you that it's not in the version that was signed by
Cheryl?
Cheryl. It's page 19.
Yeah, what I'm looking at is the draft before all the changes were either deleted or added. So it would be the draft before that one. And this is establishment of districts. Yeah, oh, no, I'm wrong. There's no date in here. But I remember, but
We talked
about it and it just didn't get in there, so I don't know.
Yeah, that sounds like an attorney. We definitely put a date in there, but
I
what
don't remember.
legally,
And I think that the date was the date of the ordinance that we had on the cover page.
I think you're probably right.
So, you know, I know in state regulations, if you have like a typo or you know, an emission that's not, you know, substantively changes, in this case, the ordinance, you don't have to go back to the beginning with the ordinance. I'm not really sure, but it'd be unfortunate if we had to go back to the voters because of a date, but I think that,
Well, I don't think this is the final draft, but I have December 31st, 2008. And so I have a thing saying keep next to it.
you have what?
I don't think this is the final. As I put a thing saying keep.
Oh, is there a date there?
Yeah, it says December 31st, 2008.
No.
Would that make sense at all?
Are you actually in,
Section 13,
Oh, no, 2008, we wanted the one that was, we wanted probably, it was actually done in the spring of 2018, but that didn't change, so we picked the
Yeah.
date that the ordinance would be amended.
We wanted it 11/6/18. That was the date that we.
Okay.
And I think part of our discussion was, what, 11/6/18.
which is the
The
effective
date of
date
the
of these amendments.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's right.
It would be the date it went to the voters.
So that's the value that we need here on page.
Yeah. So it appears that that was not on the version that was posted for the election. If I'm looking at the right draft here. Unless Nick, you have better information than that.
Well, the one that was posted to the website doesn't have a date either. It has that same language that I have here right here.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Okay,
What date Colin makes a comment here, need a date or it could be replaced with what I listed. Do you have his full letter or something of what date he would have put? Because unless we fix it, put it this way, unless we decide we can throw this date in that we originally put, we would end up, if we don't do that, we're gonna have to accept the date that Cohen puts in there. And I don't know what that date is.
well, I think this is what he was wanting to put in there. That's his,
Yeah, but right here,
oh,
he's saying need a date or it could replace with what I listed. I'm not sure, did he have a letter that accompanied this?
why don't we just put our own date? Take the whole lot of points and you
Just- If somebody wants to challenge it, they can.
He's giving
The
us.
real question is it legal to throw the date in now if somehow it never really got put in for the town meeting, even though we as a planning board decided what the date should be and should have been there. But if it didn't make it to the people, can we throw it in there? And so it's kind of a legal question.
Yeah.
I suspect if we put it, well, I think legally, we probably didn't get a date in there, and I'm not sure that we can actually throw one in there now.
Yeah, I don't know how that would be viewed.
Whether
I mean, in
that's
one sense, it would be a
substantial.
correction, because we voted to put a date in there. It just didn't make it into the text of the draft that was posted either to the public hearing or for the voters. And so I don't know what exactly that means, if that, how substantive that is. My view, it's not very substantive, but
George knows a lawyer.
That's right.
one thing we could do if you wanted is set this aside for now and see if we have any others where there's we need to do something other than what was voted on by the voters. And because if we have more than one, then that's a different matter than if this is the only two.
Well, we definitely got to have more than one from the perspective of this is in our ordinance that we adopted. We're going to the second.
On page
Yeah,
23.
page 23.
Well-
And same with page 78. These are all things were adopted, but Colin's saying in order for them to accept for Department of Conservation or whatever they're called now, to take over timber harvesting in Belgrade,
So
we need to eliminate them.
So forest management in the land use table, that's an error from what we approved and what was in the draft that went to the voters.
Oh, that is?
Yeah, all that was deleted and we put in, unfortunately, so what we approved was in next to, it's actually number 3, forest management, what we approved was that to be changed to forest management and land management roads. We crossed out all the yeses, and we inserted the language, no permit required from the town of Belgrade under this ordinance, regulated by the Bureau of Forestry, Maine Department of Agriculture, Conservation and Forestry, in all districts under Chapter 21 of that department's regulations.
So that's what we approved,
That's what we approved, and that's what went to the voters.
and it's what went to the voters. So what Colin got was different than what went to the voters.
Right.
What Colin is reviewing is different.
In this instance. And I think in this case, it's a matter of in accepting the track changes,
Yeah.
you know, something went amiss.
Something like that, yeah.
But here, we didn't eliminate number 3.
We didn't eliminate it, we just eliminated all the yeses in terms of it requiring permits. Oh, I see what you mean.
See, we didn't eliminate it. The yeses
No, we
are still
didn't,
there.
we didn't. And that's what he's saying? We have to eliminate that?
Mhm. Because it's related to timber harvesting.
Yep.
Okay, all right, I'm wrong then.
Yeah. I think all of his comments about timber harvesting were
They are.
about forest management activities. and-
Yeah, I'm in the wrong spot. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Land management roads.
Call it clock email. Oh, I'm gonna get one more.
What is that?
Call it clock email.
We can share this, Nick.
Do you want to hear?
Rich can have it after.
We gotta do it.
Yeah, why don't you? I got one somewhere.
So all this needs to be deleted. So he doesn't have any problem with 4, it's with just number 3.
Right.
So we would have to get rid of number 3
Yeah.
and renumber the remaining
I
items.
mean, at that point, we're into the area of something that's bordering on being substantive, I would think. I don't know what you think about that, Rich. In terms of potentially having to go back to the board.
To the voters. Cohen says it won't require a vote, but I'm not sure how he can determine whether.
I'm not sure that's his call.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It may not-
I
It may not
think,
require his reapproval, but.
Right.
I mean,
my thinking at this point is we accept the conditions that they put on the ordinance. Well, I don't know, does it say anything about a date here for that? Or are we gonna, well, I guess we haven't decided whether we can throw a date in there, the one that we originally planned. But my thinking is these things with timber harvesting and forest management in particular is tell him, place a condition on it, the ordinance that these things are not in effect, and next town meeting, we'll just simply do a minor amendment to the ordinance and strike the language with the rationale we have to do it in order to make it, not make it administered by, timber harvesting be administered by conservation.
Conservation.
We could leave that condition there forever, but as George said, somehow along the line, that condition is gonna be lost.
Yeah. I
But
mean, it would almost seem to me that what we'd have to do is, even in the, if it only has a life of 6 months or whatever it is, where we're trying to implement it and Gary's trying to enforce it, that somehow we need to get that condition in the text of the ordinance. So whatever language Colin says we have to put or delete and substitute. I mean, a couple of these cases, it's just deletions.
Yeah, like.
But, I mean, I assume he's gonna say this is something along his comment already. This definition is deleted.
Yeah, this definition should not.
Somehow we need to get
should
that
not be
into the
administered.
ordinance, because otherwise people are gonna come along and, I mean, not that, you know, when, who knows when anybody ever comes to, by accident to us with a, I mean, they're gonna never get past Gary, but, you know, for timber harvesting or forest management or a land management road. But,
So you don't like the idea of just attaching Cohen's conditional approval to the ordinance itself?
so, like, just to the back, you mean?
Either the back or the front or whatever. But
That would be fine with me.
yeah, because like I said, Gary's gonna know that we don't deal with timber harvesting.
Right.
And it's only gonna be, like I said, at most probably 6 months. I don't know what, well, maybe 7 or 8 months or whatever. That we have that condition. And then next November, delete those paragraphs, throw in the real date, or again, maybe we need to check with some legal authority to see if our intention of putting that date in there. I question the attorneys whether you'd say, oh yeah, you can throw the date in, even though the people didn't know what they were voting on for that date back in November. But it seems to me that the quickest and best legal way to do this is accept the conditions, attach it as conditional approval to the back or the front of the ordinance, add it to the website in that ordinance, and administer that conditional approval for 8 months, and do a minor amendment that should not have any kind of controversy at the next town meeting or the town meeting or whatever it is.
So the 2 conditions he wants, let him do those conditions.
Well, that was my thinking, but I'm not the board, so.
Well, you've been through a number of these things before with your role at DEP. You've seen things work and you've seen things not work. So I'm trusting what you're having to say next. And I would be in agreement that would be a good, efficient way to do it.
It's probably the most legal way. And I question whether we can put a date in the ordinance if the people didn't even know that was part of the ordinance or wasn't a date at the time. It seems like an illegal amendment that we just.
Yeah, we don't want any illegal amendment. No.
But I would be interested in knowing what date Colin would put in there.
Well, I guess that was my, I don't want someone else determining what the date would be.
Especially if it's a date in 2008 or something like that, because we specifically put the date in there, wanted the date of these updated wetlands ratings.
I mean, really, what he substitutes for a date is that last line in what's in the yellow highlighted area, which reads, these areas are generally depicted on a geographic information data layer. I don't get how that's a suitable substitute for an as of date. So it carries over to the next page. So everything is basically the same up until that last sentence in yellow.
What page you on?
I'm on page 19 of his. Or
The very last 3 words on the bottom, this goes to the other page.
yeah, and so, I can't remember. I don't think I did the yellow highlighting on this. Oh, I know. I probably printed. What I have is probably printed out in color, and what you have is just black and white.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say his condition, he doesn't have a date either, it's specific.
No.
Now, I would suspect that Fish and Wildlife has gone back and put that information into their data layer. So if somebody went to the Fish and Wildlife or GIS data layers now, they'd find this exact same map that we were looking at when we did our amendments. In other words, when they sent us the map, that's the map they're gonna find now on the data layer.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, I think there's a legal problem with what Colin's suggesting because it's not tied to any date, specific date, because those data layers are constantly changing as Inland Fish and Wildlife updates it. Whether it'll change between now and, you know, next November is probably unlikely, seeing how they're, other than to reflect whatever their findings from the work we asked them to do.
So should we be in contact with that group to find out, so IFNW, whatever the date of that.
You know what I think we ought to do first? Is see if we can get Colin to put the date in that we intended to be. I don't know if he can or not. In other words, the condition
Would be
would be
the date.
putting the date,
Which is the
11.
voting day, right?
6, what's that?
The 6th, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
11,
November
6,
6th.
18. I could call him and see if he could do that.
Please do.
And if that's the case, then we
Then we just take
essentially
all the-
solved
all
our
the
problems. Yeah,
Yeah,
take the
you might
conditions.
agree.
And the conditions probably 1 page worth of things and just slap on the back or the front of the ordinance.
Because I don't, what
Yeah,
he's provided, I don't think does it.
No, because they change.
Right.
And that would be changing our ordinance
Right.
based on the
Without-
whims of Fish and
Without the
Wildlife.
voters' approval.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, let me talk to Colin.
Okay, thank you. So if we get word to Colin, and we can come up with that, you know, this, what we're talking about, a date, November 6th.
His name Colin or Colin?
I call
They
it
call
Colin.
it Colin.
Colin.
So it's 2 L's.
No,
It's
one.
actually just the one.
One.
And I think if you ask him about it, he'd say, yeah, it's spelled this way, but it's pronounced this way.
Okay.
But if he can put the date in there, I just tell him to send us a conditional approval and we'll fix the ordinance
Okay,
next time we can bring it to the people.
so that would take care of that one.
Yeah.
And the other parts of the conditional approval, conditions would be referencing these strikes on where it says needs to be removed completely, repeal timber harvesting. So that's on page 23, 78, 81. And his comment on page 90 says, this definition is inconsistent with chapter 1000, so I don't know if this means. Did he include the timber harvesting definition that's in the text below what was highlighted? Because I see.
He added that definition in there. It seems to me that I'm thinking, why would he add that in there if we're not regulating timber harvesting and we've got to take this other stuff out? Why would we put a definition of timber harvesting in our ordinance?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, yeah, I actually thought it should be in there so that people know what we don't regulate.
Yeah.
But the same could be said for land management road,
Yeah.
which he's saying should be deleted.
Yeah.
Because that's the other thing that,
Well, by reference. No, you're right though, even in definitions, it should be removed. Yeah.
I personally think they're getting awful picky
Yeah.
by telling us they're not gonna regulate timber harvesting because we have a definition of forest activities. And I think that's pretty poor in my thinking.
Well, let's talk to the new commission about that.
The idea that you're telling a town you can't put a definition in, when you, especially if we deleted the part that says what timber harvesting is,
Right.
forest management, and you have a definition of forest management, they're telling you, we're not gonna approve your ordinance because you got a definition of forest management in there, that doesn't make any sense.
No, not really.
I'll talk to him about the whole thing.
Okay,
Um,
but it sounds like if we can get some agreement from him,
Especially on the
conditional
date.
approval, append that to date especially and these other things.
Yeah.
Append that approval, the conditional approval, to this and administer from there.
Right.
Until we change it.
Yeah, so what we're looking at really, assuming he's particularly the date, and we just accept everything else, even if it doesn't make any sense. What we're looking at then is making these corrections, if you will, to the voters. At the same time, we bring a revised map to the voters.
Right. Right, that makes sense.
So
So
that's,
do we need to, because you're gonna talk to Colin about this, right? So do we need to have a motion on this action? Or are we in agreement and we have minutes?
yeah, I'm not sure that,
I'm not sure we need a
yeah,
motion.
I'm not sure we're taking action, definitive action, let's put it that way.
I'll talk to him and I'll report back to you. And then we can make a formal action on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can make a decision.
Right, good, that sounds good to me. All right, thank you very, very much. Anything else to bring up? We've gone through our agenda. Any, hear anything from your end?
No, not really, that you don't even already know about. Kind of quiet right now.
Right? Yeah.
Beauty of snow, it hides the sins of man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't have anything on the agenda after not having anything last time.
I think we've issued, what'd you tell me, Nick?
What's that?
2 permits since the 1st of December?
We had one permit this year.
1 in December, none in January.
None.
Well, it's only the 3rd.
Yeah.
Nothing in the queue so far.
Well, that's the way it is. Anything else, any other news from anybody? No? Nick? Yeah.
Quiet all around.
No?
We discussed in detail the news of the week, so.
That's right, we did.
Before you come in, Gary said that the well went in across from our house.
Oh, good.
I had a question, maybe we answered this already. We had that application from Snowden Consulting Engineers about the work down here at the school. Was that all completed?
No, he said it wouldn't even start until next year,
Next year,
after
okay.
school got out.
All right, so it was just approved, after the winter, they'll get into it, okay. All right. Okay, and I'm seeing Baxter Point, I'm not sure if that's the right term, but we had at one time approved, there was a boathouse.
Yep.
And all that stuff. What have they done here, do you know?
Everything you approved, except.
They have, okay.
But they come back this spring, if you recall.
Yep.
Remember?
Yeah.
That they haven't done, I don't think.
Right,
But yeah, they live in there. The boathouse is done.
and has the town received any comments or
I haven't.
one way or the other? Okay. I was particularly not concerned, but interested in knowing what would happen there, only because it's such a high visibility area. You know, you can't go by anywhere out from the marina or on the lake without seeing that little spot.
Mm-hmm.
And I just didn't know if someone would say, hey, what's going on out there? That ain't right.
They haven't.
It actually blends in pretty good.
Well,
The structure does.
I thought their
It
plan
looks
was,
like on the inside, but the outside looks pretty good.
Yeah,
that's
I
good.
thought, blends in with that point fine. It doesn't stand out.
Well, the plans were good, I thought, you know. They were limited, obviously, in what they could do. So, yeah, okay. Well, that was the only thing I wanted to ask about. I'm good.
never had a question. Not yet, at least.
Okay. That's good. All right, I think that's it then. call it a night.